Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Rockstar Recruiting, with your MAPS coach, Rich Rector. Please note this webinar is being recorded, and you will automatically receive the webinar recording. If you have questions for your coach, please type them into the questions box located in your webinar taskbar. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That's fasttrack@kw.com. That's all for me. Rich, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. So we're going to go ahead and talk just briefly about the upcoming program that starts next week. And then I'm going to give you some real good nuts and bolts things that you can think about so you can walk away with some great value from today's 30-minute webinar session. So first of all, the Rockstar Recruiting Program and the program format, again, starts next Thursday, the 21st. This is a 6-month program, guys, that I do twice a year. And so we just are finishing the group that started 6 months ago. They're ending here in another week. And the new sessions are going to start on the 21st. We have a great group already signed up. So if you want to really kickstart your recruiting in 2019, especially with all the things that are happening with the market shift and the industry shift, our new technology, this is a great time to get plugged into Rockstar Recruiting. Here's the program format. Couple things. One is all your market center leadership is included for one price. So for $199 a month, you can have your ATL, your PC, a growth committee. You can have whoever you are is in your leadership recruiting, team on your team participate all for one registration. So the program format again is 6 months, and there are 2 calls a month, 2 1-hour calls a month, and I'm going to go through kind of what the curriculum is on the next slide in a second here. And it's 2 1-hour calls, so there's going to be a total of 12 1-hour calls that we're going to be going through. In addition to that, every week there are 2 1-hour live prospecting webcam sessions where you can actually, and or your team can be on a live webcam with myself and other recruiters and team leaders that are making recruiting calls and live, and you can get instant feedback from me. You can listen and hear what other people are doing and what they're saying. So it's a great opportunity to enhance your appointment setting skills. In fact, the people that participate in this part of the program, which it's included with your registration, literally on average, and I've been doing this program for almost 10 years, triple their appointment setting rate. So if the appointment setting part of recruiting, especially with market share agents, is a challenge for you, this is a component of this program that can really help you take it to the next level. So you can see what we have. We have the weekly sessions. We have the weekly webcam sessions. We have the 12 powerful webinar calls that we've talked about. And also included is the videos and the scripts. So I've got different videos that I'm going to send you, all kinds of different scripts, new scripts that have been written on the different initiatives we have, like, Keller Mortgage and Referral Network and Kelly and the industry shift and Command and, all the different things that are happening, the shift itself. So all those kind of scripts, as well as the standard stapled appointment setting scripts and needs analysis, as well as a recruiting presentation, all the materials are included with the program. And we're going to be going through those as we go through the program. So with that, let me get into some thoughts that I want to share with you on here on the next slide. And that is the recruiting system. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rate yourself in terms of your level of mastery of the recruiting system. So there's one thing that is certain, and that is that all great recruiters have a system. Okay, just like great agents follow a system, they follow models. Their business is predictable and duplicatable. And recruiting is the same way. So the question is what makes one recruiter good and another one great? We see some phenomenal recruiters, team leaders in our company. You know, we just came from family reunion. We saw incredible panels of people that are just knocking it out of the park. So what's the difference? What's the difference between somebody that's good and somebody that's great? It's really their level of mastery of their system. And recruiting is a business, just like real estate sales is a business. So that's why you need to have a system and models that you follow. So number one is developing a predictable strategic recruiting plan. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you say your level of mastery is around having a strategic plan? I'm not just talking about a 1-3-5 for the market center, but a strategic recruiting plan where you've identified, you know, your target list, and you know what are the different strategies and sources that you're going to be using to go after those people, and you know what your ratios are of dials to contacts, hours to dials to contacts, contacts to appointments, appointments to hires, so that you can actually figure out how many hours it takes you to get an appointment with a capper, with a market share agent, and how many hours it takes you to hire that person, so that you can take a look at it and say, if my goal is to hire 24 cappers this year, I have an idea of what that time commitment's going to look like. If my goal is to have 10 gross, I understand how much time that's going to take me based on what it takes me to get 40 appointments. And all that's just a matter of tracking your numbers, monitoring them, and really having a specific strategic business plan. The plan would also include what's worked. What are your sources? What have been your best recruiting sources in 2018? Where did you get your recruits from? Are you keeping track of that? So that just like with an agent business, again, we can say if we plus this one area up, we're going to get a lot more, you know, a lot better results. And we'll take a look at some other sources that say, hey, these things didn't work at all. So let's either, you know, get rid of those things, or maybe there's an opportunity to incorporate some other sources and strategies that we'll talk about in a second. So really having a strategic plan. Number two is creating your target list and determine what those strategies are going to be. I think you would all agree, guys, that the recruiting strategies for a mega agent, a fold-in, a capper are a lot different than a new agent. So what are those specific strategies, and how do we adjust those strategies depending on who we're going after? Okay, so it sounds like a good start to a predictable business, right? What's the plan? What are our goals? What are the numbers to achieve the goals? And then who are we going to go after, and what are going to be our strategies to go after those people to hit our goals? So those are the first two things. Scale of 1 to 10. What's your level of mastery around that? Number three, mastering the language of real estate, the growth initiative tools, leveraging, right, and with your team. Okay, so what's your level of mastery on a scale of 1 to 10 of understanding how to use the tools, how to interpret those, how to get appointments with those, how to utilize those for validity in your recruiting, and how are you creating and building your team to create leverage? One of the great things about this program that I mentioned right at the beginning is that your team can all participate in this program for one registration. So, for example, this morning we had a webcam prospecting session for the group that's just getting ready to end. And guess what? We had productivity coaches on the call, right? We had callers like ISAs that were on the call, right? As well as team leaders. So we had basically the team leaders leverage team that was participating on these calls. So they have obviously a lot better chance to set more appointments when there's 2 or 3 people setting appointments for the team leader, setting appointments for the productivity coach, and so forth. So how's your team look, and what type, if you don't have a team, do you have some goals to create a team and start building a team, you know, as you move through 2019? Is that the next piece for you? We're going to talk about that and what that looks like and what's been effective. There's also scripts there for each team member that are included in the program too, so we can help you with all those things. Next, number 4, setting appointments. What's your level of mastery setting appointments to set up business consultations, business strategy sessions versus recruiting appointments? How good are you at setting up appointments? Guys, because recruiting is like a baseball game, meaning that, if to score runs in the baseball game of recruiting, you got to get to first base. You got to get on base. You have to have base runners to score and win the baseball game, right? You're not going to hit home runs every time, so you have to be able to have base runners. So how do you get out of the batter's box and get a base hit in the baseball game? That's setting the appointment. And then once you get to first base, we're going to talk about the needs analysis and how do you set up the candidate that you just got to first base with so that they recognize that they have a gap from where they're at to where they want to go. They have needs. And then going from second to third base is where we layer in the presentation, what we call the 10-step recruiting presentation, to get them to quantify and to acknowledge and to actually see themselves accomplishing their goals, bridging that gap from where they're at to where they want to go with the questions that you ask and the way that you take them through that 10-step presentation. So that's going from second to third. And third base to home is where we then close and we handle objections. And then we go through, take them through the agent transition and get them over to the company. And then how do we leverage that experience and their influence to create additional recruits to get back on first base again and go around the bases? Okay, so if you can't do number 4, that's why we have the webcam prospecting sessions. You got to get to first base. Number 5, scale of 1 to 10. What makes recruiters great is number 5, and that is understanding how to communicate the needs analysis, understanding how to lead with questions and not sell and tell, how to let the questions do the heavy lifting. There's 28 questions in the new needs analysis that I'm going to take you through. We're going to do a deep dive in that and literally show you how the candidates set themselves up to be presented to. So you can literally have an appointment with somebody who does not want to move, and if you take them through the right consultation, the right needs analysis, all of a sudden their awareness becomes that they have a gap that they want to overcome. And we're going to show you how to strategically ask the right questions and how they're positioned to get the desired response, to get these people to a place to where they have a need, whether it's more time freedom, more business, more money, or both. So that's number 5. And then determining what are the best value propositions or value wall benefits that we have to show them how to bridge the gap from where they're at to where they want to go. What are the tools, the models, the systems, the education, the technologies? What are the things that we have that other people are winning with that they see themselves winning with too to accomplish their goal? So we're going to help you master that. So number 5 is a critical component, and that's really what makes recruiters great versus good, is their ability to deliver the needs analysis and the 10-step recruiting presentation. Next, learning how to close, learning the closing process and the objection handlers. So what's your level of mastery on knowing what to say, knowing what the recruiting objections are, and knowing how to handle those? Closing is a natural end to a great presentation. So have you set them up with the needs analysis, done the 10-step presentation to where that's done the heavy lifting for you, so the close becomes a natural end? What's your level of mastery of handling objections and closing? How many people do you have in your pipeline right now that you've already met with that are market share agents that you haven't closed? Okay, that's what we're talking about right there. Scale of 1 to 10, what's your level of mastery around that? Number 7, the biggest challenge that we tend to have in leadership is time management, schedule management. How do we spend our time? How do we manage our time? How do we block our time? How do we buffer our time? Right? What can we do to protect your time? All the gotta minutes. How do we handle that so that you can get your 20% done? We're going to talk a lot about different tips, some strategies, some things that have been very effective to help team leaders, right, accomplish that piece so that they can accomplish, again, their 20%. Number 8, creating a simple lead follow-up system. What's your level of mastery on a scale of 1 to 10 on lead follow-up? Did you know, guys, that 70% of your hires are going to join you during the lead follow-up phase? Lead follow-up phase. So it's not just about getting new appointments, but it's also about, are you following up with the people that you met with last month, that you met with in January, that you met with last quarter, in the fourth quarter of 2018, that you met with back in October? The fortunes and the follow-ups. We're going to talk about a simple lead follow-up system. What do you send? What do you say? How often do you do that? We're going to go through that piece. Number 9, developing an agent transition and orientation system. So scale of 1 to 10, how is your agent transition and orientation systems? Because the minute that they say yes, that's when the real work starts, isn't it? So how do you coach them out of their office, out of that relationship? How do you get them here once they say yes, they want to join? Do you simulate the experience they're going to have when they go talk to their broker? Do you role play the script and what they need to say when they're talking to their broker about leaving? And what not to say when they're talking to that broker? Do you have a strategy and a transition system? I'm going to share with you 8 key tips and strategies to almost bulletproof the agent transition so that we can get them over. And then what's their experience when they arrive? How's the orientation? Did they have a wow experience? Right? Or, did their business cards not show up, and the front desk person doesn't even know who they are, and, all the things that if you've been doing this long enough, right, that you want to avoid. So what's the orientation? What's their experience? Because lastly, number 10, we want to leverage their influence, leverage that hire. I'm going to share with you 12 points that if you followed them to a T with each market share hire, you could turn that hire into 3 additional hires. Okay, so we're going to go through that. So what's their experience, right? Because they have to have a great experience so that and then you have to have a system that you're going to follow up with them and that you're going to implement to make sure that the world knows that they've joined you and why they've joined. And there's different ways to do that. It's not just putting a Facebook post out there and assuming that everybody in the agent community saw it. There's key components that will ensure that we market our success that this person's joined. That gives us validity, that gives us credibility, and that'll allow you to turn that into multiple hires. Okay, let's go to the next slide. What's your level of mastery around these recruiting sources? Scale of 1 to 10. How good of a job do you do at making phone calls, setting up appointments? How are your scripts working? Do you change them up? How's your tonality? How's the delivery? How's your voice inflections? Those are all the things that we work on in this program, especially during the webcam prospecting sessions. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your appointment setting rate? Why do some people have a 1 in 10 appointment setting rate with market share agents and others have a 1 in 2 rate with market share agents? It's their level of skill, the level of mastery with appointment setting. Number 2, agent referrals. On a scale of 1 to 10, How's your agent referral program? Are you getting enough referrals? Are you getting referrals on a regular basis? Are people excited to give you referrals? Are you asking for referrals? Are you recognizing people for giving you referrals? How are you cultivating that? Just like an agent's database is their most important database, is their sphere and past clients, their database, your database is your agents. How are you connecting with them? How often are you reaching out? What's that process and that system look like to cultivate referrals? Are you using disappearing cap? Do you do profit share classes? Do the agents know what to say? Do they know what not to say? Are they connectors and inviters versus recruiters? Those are all things that we're going to talk about. Number 3, educational events. How often are you holding educational events, guys? We should be holding educational events every month. I'm not talking about, the Ignite classes and so forth. I'm talking about where you have a speaker or a panel that outside market share agents would want to attend. Especially in a shifting market, agents are looking for answers. So what type of educational calendar do you have this year? What kind of social events are you hosting as well? We're going to talk about number 4, co-brokes. Are you in communication with the people that your agents are doing deals with? What's your system? What do you say? What do you send? How often? What's the co-broke system look like? Scale of 1 to 10, how good of a job do you guys do with number 4, working the co-broke transactions? Number 5, what's your level of mastery? How effective is it? Are you going out on broker tours and open houses? Are you getting out and seeing the people? Would you guys agree, like many of my clients, that getting people on the phone is becoming more and more difficult? 70% of the agents, by the way, don't answer the phone. That's a standard statistic. Yet, for many of us, it's even getting lower than that, because there's so many people out recruiting our competition that agents just aren't answering the phone, especially if it's coming from another real estate company. So are you getting out and seeing the people? Old school. I know with time, and I don't have time to do this, but guess what? If you can get out and see people face to face, start that relationship there, you're going to be able to get in front of those market share agents potentially a lot quicker than calling numbers that they're not going to answer the phone, they're not going to pick up. So something to think about. We're going to talk about that. Number 6, leveraging the hires. We just touched on that. Again, we're going to go through that 12-point plan on how to turn 1 hire into 3. Number 7, social media, right? How are you using social media? We're going to talk about that. Facebook, video. Video has 10 times the shelf life, guys, of email. Are you using video, texting, messenger, websites? What are you doing from a standpoint of social media? And then number 8, marketing. What does your recruiting marketing look like? Drip campaigns, testimonials, hire announcements, your lure numbers, event invitations. We're going to talk about some of those things. In my opinion, those are the 4 components of what your marketing system should look like, because it's local and it's stuff that they're interested in, which is agents are winning, agents are joining. Here's how we're outperforming the market, and you're invited to something. Number 9, your new agent system. Okay, we're going to talk about that. We're going to really do a deep dive in looking at that piece. Do you have licensing schools? Can you speak at those schools? Do you have them in your own facility? Do you have an opportunity with that? What about a state licensee list? What about career seminars? What is your new agent strategy? Do you do pre-license sales training for the people before they get their license? That was something that allowed us to almost corner the market in Southern California, is offering pre-license sales training, because there's about a 4 to 5 month timeline to get your real estate license in California, as an example. So there's a lot of downtime there where people are studying for their test, that we could get into relationship with them and get them into our facility And now they're helping us recruit other people that are in school. And more importantly, they're getting the learning curve going on things that they can legally do, like putting together a database, learning scripts, learning the contracts, those types of things. And now all of a sudden they're ready to hit the ground running. There's a less of an attrition rate because the learning curve's there. And, the motivated people want to plug into that program because they want to get a jump start in their career. So that could be an opportunity for you. And then number 10, leverage. Okay, I put that as a source and a strategy because now more than ever, we're seeing the results of that. So don't go it alone. Sure, you need to master your skills at the highest level as a recruiter, but build your team. You've heard it said that you're the biggest team in your office because all the numbers, all the lower numbers in your office, those are your numbers, and you're the rainmaker of the team. So doesn't it make sense that you have people on your team? Right? So how are you working with your ALC? How are you working with your DFI, your MCA, your ATL, your agent services person? Okay, what should their role be? How can they help? What are some different things that are working in other market centers that you can duplicate in yours so that, again, you're not having to do all of it? So those are just some of the sources that we're going to talk about on one call. We're going to go through all those sources just as an example. So we're going to have, again, I want to flip to the next slide, that would be great. We're going to, in this program, we're going to go through 12 calls, 1-hour calls. We're going to do a deep dive into all these things. And then you have the weekly, twice a week opportunities, optional, that you can plug into the webcam prospecting sessions if you choose to do that as well. We start next Thursday, okay, 12:30 Central Time. And again, the length of the program is 6 months, and it's $199 a month for 6 months. Great bargain, great deal if you plug in and you leverage your people and have them participate as well. And you participate. Bottom line, it's like anything, participate. And you show up and things are going to happen. Got a great group, as I mentioned, that's already registered. We got a few slots left. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can go to the MAPS Coaching, go to group coaching website section, and you can go ahead and register today. Or you can give me a call or text me, and I'll go ahead and send you a link as well. Okay, with that, if there's any questions, we can open up for questions for a couple minutes on anything that you'd like to talk about, whether it's related to the program or not. I will leave you with this thought, okay, as we're opening up for questions, is ask you this question. Have you reached your potential as a leader? And what's possible for you? Do you have a growth plan? You yourself as the leader, do you have a growth plan? Because you're the biggest asset for the market center. So are you investing in yourself to grow and to get better personally? Okay. Are you investing time like you are today? Are you investing dollars to help yourself get better in the skills? Because in my opinion, you're worth it, and your potential is worth it as well. So if you're struggling in an area of recruiting, or this is the most important key component of your job if you're a team leader, then get the skill building tools, scripting, support that you need, and let us help you get there. Questions?
There is one question, Rich. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay, so it says, I would love to take the class, but I'm an agent on a growth committee. The focus this year is to grow their profit share tree, and TLs usually do the recruiting, so would this program help them?
Well, we have quite a few agents that actually take the program for that, for profit share, as well as we have teams. We have mega agent teams that are prospecting to build their teams that participate in the program and also work on the webcam sessions with me as well. So if you want to learn how to recruit and you want to learn the skills on how to recruit, then I would say this is the program for you. This is a skill building, knowledge-based program. So again, we teach you the recruiting system to be successful as a recruiter, and then we work with you, do a deep dive in the skill building components of being a successful recruiter, like appointment setting, the needs analysis, the recruiting presentation, closing, and objection handling. So hopefully that answers your question. Anything else?
And that's all the questions we have.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you so much for participating. If you have any other questions, there's my phone number. You can text me or my email. I look forward to working with you. Again, we start next week. We have a few slots left. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful start to your week, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.